Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're popping open the medicine cabinet and stepping into the absolutely fascinating world of medicinal chemistry. We interact with this branch of science literally every single time we have a fever, catch an infection, or even just get a mild headache. But what's actually hiding inside those tiny capsules and liquids we rely on to feel better? Well, we're going to find out.
So, picture this. You wake up with a pounding headache, right? You swallow a small white tablet with a glass of water, and an hour later, the pain is just gone. It really begs the question, are medicines just magic? How do they know exactly where to go and what to do in your body?
Spoiler alert. The answer is no. There's no magic involved here. They are incredibly carefully engineered molecules. These tiny little chemical machines are designed with absolute pinpoint precision to target very specific biological processes in our bodies. They are literally built from the ground up to cure, prevent, and manage diseases by acting directly on our cells.
Here is the roadmap for our explainer today. We've got 5 steps. 1. Molecules, not magic. 2. How medicines actually work. 3. The roster of remedies. 4. The making of a drug. And 5. The future of healing. Let's dive in.
Kicking things off with Section 1, Molecules, Not Magic, Defining the Drug.
You see, you can't just call any random chemical a medicine. To be considered a true medical drug, a substance has to meet some pretty strict criteria. First off, it physically alters physiological functions in your body. It has to be used specifically for the diagnosis, treatment, or prevention of a disease. It's not some random shotgun approach. It requires a highly specific action on your body's internal systems, and it must be administered in a very controlled dosage. And because it's actively altering your biology, it may come with side effects. It's a very specific, highly deliberate interaction.
Moving right along to Section 2, How Medicines Actually Work, the Inner Machinery.
Okay, so how do these engineered molecules actually physically interact with human biology? Well, one primary mechanism is receptor interaction. Think of your body as being full of receptors that act like tiny biological locks. Specific drugs are engineered with the exact chemical structure, the precise shapes and functional groups to act as the perfect key. They bind exclusively to specific receptors. So for example, those painkillers you take? They're shaped to perfectly fit and bind right into your pain receptors, essentially just turning off the pain signal right at the source.
Now, there's another incredible mechanism here called enzyme inhibition. In this scenario, the drug doesn't just turn off a receptor, it acts like a physical roadblock. It literally blocks the specific enzymes that are responsible for causing or advancing a disease. So when you take an antibiotic for a bacterial infection, that drug is actively inhibiting the bacterial enzymes from functioning. It effectively destroys their cell walls and stops the infection dead in its tracks.
But here's the catch. The absolutely crucial point here is balancing the therapeutic effect against the side effects. The therapeutic effect is what we want, killing the bacteria, stopping the pain, that kind of thing. But because these drugs are actively going in and altering your cell processes, they can cause unintended reactions. Things like drowsiness, nausea, or allergic responses. In fact, the entire field of medicinal chemistry is dedicated to refining these chemical structures to maximize that positive healing outcome while minimizing those pesky side effects. Getting the proper dosage is absolutely critical to striking that perfect balance.
Which brings us to Section 3, the roster of remedies inside your cabinet. Let's look at some of the familiar heavy hitters you probably have in your bathroom right now, based on their specific chemical jobs. Antibiotics, like penicillin, specifically target and kill bacteria, though, quick side note, it is vital to remember they are completely ineffective against viruses. Then you've got analgesics, your pain relievers like aspirin, which relieve pain without knocking you out or making you lose consciousness. We also rely heavily on antacids, like magnesium hydroxide, which do the direct physical job of chemically neutralizing excess stomach acid. And of course, antihistamines, like cetirizine, which treat allergies by actively blocking your body's histamine production. Each and every one of these is a distinct chemical tool engineered for a highly specific biological job.
So where do we actually get these chemical tools? Historically, we relied on natural medicines. These were derived directly from plants. Think of quinine for malaria, for instance. But today, modern medicine heavily relies on synthetic medicines that are prepared in laboratories. Why the shift? Because laboratory synthesis allows the pharmaceutical industry to create exact, consistent molecules at a massive, massive scale. It ensures that every single pill you take has the exact same therapeutic power as the last one. Let's move on to Section 4, the making of a drug, the grueling audition. Have you ever wondered how a synthetic molecule actually makes it from a chemistry lab to your local pharmacy? Well, it goes through this insanely rigorous, highly selective 6-step audition process.
First up is target identification, basically finding the specific receptor or enzyme to attack. Second is lead discovery, finding a chemical candidate that actually might do the trick. Third is chemical optimization, where scientists tweak and refine the molecule's structure to boost its activity and safety. Then comes preclinical testing in the lab, followed by clinical trials where it gets carefully tested in humans. And only if a molecule survives all of that intense scrutiny does it finally reach step 6, approval and marketing.
10 to 15. That is the staggering number of years it typically takes to complete this grueling process. We're talking well over a decade of dedicated, non-stop science just to ensure that a single chemical is both safe enough and effective enough to earn the title of medicine.
And the crazy part? Even after a drug is finally approved, the precision doesn't stop. Delivering the drug in the exact right formulation, whether that's a tablet, a capsule, a syrup, or an injection, completely affects how fast it's absorbed into your system. Furthermore, finding the correct dosage is incredibly individualized. It depends heavily on a person's age, body weight, the severity of the disease, and their individual metabolism. An overdose can be highly dangerous, while an underdose might do absolutely nothing at all. The chemistry literally has to be matched perfectly to the patient.
Finally, let's dive into Section 5, the future of healing, responsibility and innovation.
We've got to talk about a really critical global concern here, drug resistance. This happens when microbes evolve to literally resist the very drugs we designed to kill them, and it's often due to the overuse of antibiotics or people taking incomplete dosages. But the good news is we each have the power to help prevent it. Do not self-medicate. Always follow a doctor's advice. Avoid misusing antibiotics for viral infections, and I can't stress this enough, always complete your entire prescribed course of medication, even if you start feeling better halfway through.
If we can manage those risks, the modern trends we're seeing in medicinal chemistry are just incredibly inspiring. We're rapidly moving toward targeted drug delivery, which is an absolute game changer for things like cancer therapy, where the drug attacks only the diseased cells and leaves the healthy ones alone. We are also seeing the rapid rise of nanomedicine, biotechnology-based drugs, and perhaps most excitingly, personalized medicine. The ultimate goal here is to make tomorrow's medicines much safer, far more precise, and highly personalized to your specific genetic makeup.
To wrap up our journey today, I want to highlight this core takeaway. Chemistry of medicines is a fascinating field where science meets healing. It truly is. These tiny, perfectly engineered molecules have massively increased human life expectancy. They've controlled massive epidemics, and they've vastly improved our everyday quality of life. By understanding the chemistry behind the pill, we can be so much more informed and safe when we use them. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. As science continues to map the exact, intricate mechanisms of the human body, how might the next breakthrough in nanomedicine or targeted delivery completely transform your own healthcare in the years to come? The medicine cabinet of the future is going to look very different. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and as always, stay curious.